All right, hey guys, welcome back to Sam Coach Ratboat. Today we're going to talk about heating your tent. Notice I do not have my wood stove out here, okay? I have two main tents that I hunt out of. I have my Davis wall tent that I use for my Midwest trips where I'm living in it for 3.5 weeks straight. Then I have my Kodiak Canvas 10x10 Flexible Deluxe that I spend a lot of my time in as well too for my smaller hunts. If I can heat both of those, but like I said, I bought that cylinder stove, wood stove when I bought that wall tent. God, it's got to be pushing 10, 12 years ago. And sorry, I'm sweating. And that wood stove works great, don't get me wrong. But it's a pain in the butt to cut wood, mess with wood, deal with wood. It gets annoying sometimes. I haven't used that stove in 5 years. It's sitting in my storage unit here, and it is just locked back in my back storage garage. And it's buried in the back. I can't even get to it right now. I have no interest in using it even anymore, even in cold temps. I will use heaters instead. Heaters win for me because of the simplicity, the ease, the lighter weight, the functionality. There's so many benefits to it. With a wood stove, it takes a long time for that stove to get cooked up. Like if you let it burn out in the middle of the night, if you don't want to let it burn out in the middle of the night, you're going to go through tremendous amounts of wood. And then on top of that, you got to get up every 2 hours and refill it. And if you skip one and miss it, you got to start from scratch, and it's exhausting. And if you're not going to let it run all night, when you get up in the morning, you got to start the fire. It takes it a half hour to get to a point where it's going to even start putting off much heat and get warm. It's exhausting. It gets old to deal with. It's just, and then you got to clean the pipe, clean the, it's just a pain in the butt. So I don't mess with them anymore. Heaters are where I use it, or where it is. And this one right here, this Mr. Buddy Big Buddy heater, okay, this one I've done video reviews on in the past. This is something that every household should have. You should have a minimum of one. We have 3. This is my original one that I've been using now for over a decade. It still does not fail me. It still works perfectly every time. And we have 2 more in there, in boxes I have not even opened. You will notice that this one even has the fan built into it where it takes air in here and blows air out of the bottom. Okay, and I got a switch right here. Okay, with the fan, and you got the batteries back here on the back. Okay, you got the battery pack back here that can take batteries in it. Never leave your batteries stored in it because they'll, like I said, they'll disintegrate in there. But that's how old this one is. I don't even think they offer those with the fan in them anymore. But point is, this thing is so robust, bulletproof, and built well, and does not fail that it's just, everybody should have one of these. This will heat up a room in your house just fine. It'll get you through emergency storms. It'll get you through everything. I'll put the specs down below. Again, I'm not digging a box out that's buried back in there to show them to you, so I will show you a picture of the specs on this heater right here for you. And then another thing that we get with it is going to be this, which is this stove for this. See, with the way this heater works, and why it's so great in a stove is if you're going to be out there for 1 or 2 nights, you don't have to mess with any of this kind of stuff like a bigger propane tank and this. You can simply run, it's got double compartments here for your 1 pound tanks right here. Okay, so you can just take, you know, you can go out there, if you're going out there for a weekend, take 5 or 6 of these tanks and just run off of these portable tanks. They work perfectly and they do the job very well. If you're going to be out there for longer than that and, you know, you want to run this thing for a while, then what you can do, even in the house, is you can hook this up here and take this and connect this right to this adapter right here. And it's even got a way where you can still close this. One of them, which one is it? Right out of the bottom. It comes right out of the bottom. You can run that hose right out of the bottom of this so you can still close this wing when it's in there, but you can hook this up to this and have that in there like that, drop down, running out of the bottom, buried in, perfectly like you're seeing right there. So it's in there, and then I can connect this to this propane bottle. I think this is a 12-footer, but then I can leave this right outside the door, leave the door cracked, or put it through a window and leave this sitting outside and have this inside. You crack a window anyway in your house, take the screen out of the window, put this below the window, run the hose right into the window to this thing, and you got heat for a long time. In your wall tent, I leave this thing right in the tent. Okay, it's a wall tent. It's not going to have that much difference. But you could even, if you want to put this outside, put it outside and run this right into the bottom of your door of your tent and have it on the inside, and you get a lot of life. You'll get over a week of using this thing quite a bit out of one of these 20-pound tanks for this heater. So it's a fantastic one. Now, as far as setting this thing up in there when I'm in camp, what I do with this often, if I'm in my Kodiak Canvas tent, which is a floor tent. Now, my wall tent does not have a floor, but in my Kodiak Canvas, it does have a floor in there. So what I often do with that is I will use my stool, which fits right on the top of this thing, is a kit right there, and that's how it goes in the trailer. But I will take this stool, put it here, and I will set this right on top of it, and it gets it off the ground a little bit. No chance of it hurting my floor, melting my floor. Anything that gets thrown on the floor and lands in front of this thing, like if I kick my covers off or something, or my shoes or boots are too close, nothing's getting ruined there. So by putting it on there, it just gets it up a little bit higher. Before I used this and kind of dedicated that to making sure I have it, which also lets me work on things on the tent if I need to get up higher, like to hang my solar shower. As a short guy, this will let me reach up there in those high spots, so it's handy. But I can also use, like, this is just my boiling pot that I bring, because you can't bring meat and skull matter, or you can't bring any brain tissue or anything with you back when you harvest animals out of state, so I boil them in this. Well, I can take this, put it in there too, and set this right on there, and that works like a champ in a tent as well also. So simple features, simple function, and you could do the same thing if you got carpeted floors and you're going to run it in the house, put it on a milk crate, put it on a bucket, put it on something just to get it off of the ground for that added security and not catching anything on fire. But this has got a O2, low O2, so if it senses too low oxygen, it will shut itself off. These are priceless. In a tent, especially a Kodiak canvas size or a 10 by 10, 10 by 14 tent like that, this will get you through any temperatures and conditions and does a fantastic job. And it's very cheap and easy to run, and there's nothing to it. Can't say enough good things about that heater. Now, in my big full-size wall tent, what I run more than not is this one here. This is a 360 heater, okay? This one, I don't even know who makes this one. They're all the same. They all have their own name. Duraglow is a popular one. They're all identical. It doesn't matter who makes it. This one is Redstone. They're the same thing, okay? But what this does is this mounts right on top of this tank. So this is gonna sit right on the tank like this, and it's gonna screw itself tight. So you put this on here. You screw that out. Always screw it in when you're done so you don't lose it. Okay, but this will sit right on here like this and be connected in right here. Now what we end up with here is basically 360 degrees around of heat, and you have your, it's easy start right here. You push that, pop this in, push a lighter or match right up through here. This thing comes to life and it goes. Now it also has on the nozzle, it's got low, medium, and high settings, just like this has got low, medium, and high. So you can control the power. Let me put it to you this way with this. I have been using this heater now for 4 years, and I have been down to 10 below in this thing, and I have never once turned it on higher than low. It's never been higher than low, and that is on a 14 by 16. I think my tent's 14 by 16, my wall tent. And I have never once, maybe 12 by 14 or 14 by 16, either one of those, but open floor, no floor in it, and huge 5-foot tall sides with 10-foot tall center. I mean, it's a pretty good sized wall tent. Never once have I ever used medium. Okay, I've never used medium, and most of the time, I cannot even leave this thing running. It is more of a turn it on, let it run for 10 minutes, and then shut it off because you're getting too hot. Let it be off for a half hour, turn it back on again for 10 minutes. Like I said, this thing cooks in there. It's super powerful to the point where I've actually learned to, even when I'm on low, to close up the valve on the tank to even slow it down a little bit more to make it more manageable. So this heater will blow you right out of anywhere you're in. This thing is amazing. Also perfect for in a garage if you got the garage door open and you're working on something. This one does need to be ventilated. You don't want to use this indoors, but in a tent, especially canvas tent, something that's going to breathe, this thing's phenomenal. Like I said, we often will leave the windows open in the wall tent, this thing running on low, and we are comfortable as can possibly be. We do not sleep with any heater on. Okay, you don't need to sleep with a heater on. That's what your sleeping bag is for. Buy the right sleeping bag and you don't have to worry about it. Now, another thing you can do is this little fan. I learned this tip from Jesse Johnson. He recommended this, sent it to me as a link. I bought it for camping, but honestly, I use this thing all the time when I'm making videos in my office for my Jason Samco channel, where I'm literally recording. I got all these camera lights on me, and I'm sitting there and I'm recording for 4 hours straight with making 10 videos. I get really hot sitting right there in that room with all that. Even though it's air conditioning in there, it's just a hot spot. Putting this little fan on makes all the difference in the world. This thing is, I've shown this in the cot or in the sleeping bag video, but this one here, it's USB rechargeable. Okay, plugs in right here, USB chargeable, weighs next to nothing, and it has a hook on here, and it lets me angle this down or whatever I want to do with it. And but this thing runs forever. I mean, days. I mean, it took 3 straight days of being on almost all day long on one to get down to 40, or get down to lose 40%, get to 60%. But you turn it on, you can see goes on to 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can see the modes on there. But this thing is a awesome little, whatever it was, I want to say it was like $13. But I can take this and hang it in my tent above the heater and let it blow that heat down, okay? Because heat rises, you lose a lot of heat up to the high stuff. By using this and hanging it above there and letting that air blow the heat that radiates out of either one of these down, it's going to keep you warmer while you're in there using it. So this is how I heat my tents now. My Kodiak canvas, this tent. Light duty places, like if I'm going somewhere where I know the temperatures are going to be 70s and maybe getting down to 50 at night, even in my wall tent, this one goes with me. If I'm going on my Midwest November trip where I'm expecting temperatures in the 20s and 30s and 10s, single digit kind of things at night, which is often the case over 3 weeks in the Midwest, this one goes with me. So it's 2 simple things. The beauty of them is they both serve multiple purposes as the ultimate home emergency heater for inside your house, and an excellent heater for anything you need to do in the cold weather outside, or even if you got to go outside and work on something, work on a house, you got to be out here doing something, it's cold out. Taking this thing with you, it will blow your mind how warm it'll make it. They're both very affordable. I don't know what the prices are. I will link them down below. I don't care if you use the link or not. Like I said, Amazon, the way they pay commissions today, they're pretty irrelevant. But I'm linking it for your benefit on there. But don't be afraid to shop around, see if you can find it cheaper. But I will link this down below, both of these. I think this one's like 80 bucks when I bought it. This one was like $99 when I bought it. I don't know what they are now today, but they're not expensive at all. 17 bucks for that. Tanks, like when I'm heading on my Midwest trip, I'm not taking this one because, again, I'm going to be in a big wall tent and I'm going to be there for 3 straight weeks with major fluctuations in temperature. I will bring this one. I will bring this one, and I'm taking 3 propane tanks with me. The reason I'm taking 3 is that way out there, if the temps are cold, I'm getting about 2.5 days out of a tank. And so I brought 2 tanks last year and I had to fill them a couple times. It's better to actually... and I was using them a lot there too. So, but it's better to I'm going to bring 3 this year, and 3 I bet I can get through. So, because I had to fill them, I brought 2 tanks. I filled 1 tank once, and then I filled another tank because I only had 2. So when one was empty, I made a point to fill it. So I went through 1, I brought 2 with me, filled 2, came back with 1 half full. So I used over 3 weeks, I used 1, 2, 3.5 tanks over 3 weeks. This year when I go out there, I'm bringing all 3 tanks that I own with me just to make life easier and not have to give up that hunting time to have to go into a store and try and find it. I usually would try to fill my own tanks and not get these exchange ones because I think they fill better, fill them higher when you actually take them in and get them done. But if you follow my Patreon, you noticed last year I was pretty upset that nobody in the entire state that I was in seemed like they would refill propane. And the 2 places it would had some excuse why they couldn't. The nozzle's broken, whatever the case is, they wouldn't do it. So finally, I had to go to like Blue Rhino or whatever it was and just exchange tanks, which meant I gave up one of my very nice new tanks that I loved that I just bought 2 years ago for one of these cheap junk generic-y BS tanks that we got to deal with now. So, so now I'm done buying my own. I'm just going to keep exchanging them. It's quicker, it's faster. Maybe I lose a half hour of heat out of it because it's not as full. Maybe I pay a couple bucks more, whatever. It's just, it's not worth chasing them around in places I don't know. Now, before we leave here, I will go here where I live to the Ace Hardware store here where I know in Tractor Supply where they will fill all of these for me. But when I'm out on my trip, I'm going to sacrifice and just swap out right at the, at the exchange of tank kind of places. So, but there you go. That's the systems. Sweet, simple, and easy. And I will, again, link this stuff below. But this is pure comfort and no headache, no hassle, no BS, no messing with packing and hauling wood, no splitting wood, no bringing my splitting maul and coming back from being in the woods all day and having to chop firewood and try and get a stove going. Is a stove nicer? Is it an amazing thing to fall asleep listening to a stove crackle and watching, the lights flicker all over the tent coming through the vent holes of that? Yes, it is. It's absolutely amazing. Is this much more efficient, much better, and much quicker, and much less headache, and much easier to deal with? Yes, these are. That's why these go now, and the stove stays at home. Okay, plain and simple. Stove stays at home. If I were to go back to Michigan on a December winter hunt for a week out there, yeah, I would probably bring my stove. And I'd probably have a place call ahead that I could go to, and the day I get there, I'd go pick up a half a quart of wood, bring it out there with me, and dump it out there. That way I have stuff to burn rather than chop my own. So food for thought for you as far as heating your tent systems go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.